CEOs are the busiest human beings on the planet, yet they still make time to read 4 to 6 books per month. The richest and most innovative people tend to read 4 to 6 hours per day. Now, time is money. Why do they choose to read books? Charlie Munger, who has a net worth of $2 billion, advises that spend each day trying to be a little wiser than you were when you woke up. Now, Charlie's best friend Warren Buffett, who's the 4th richest person in the world with a net worth of $100 billion, once answered to a question, read 500 pages every week and that's how knowledge builds up, like compound interest. People dedicate their entire lives to one field of study. Wouldn't you like to live 1,000 lives where you got to know everything but still had to live the one life? Reading allows you to unlock a powerful and unbelievable passage into the writer's mind. It allows you to think like they do, to see things like they do and envision the future like they do. Books are keys that allow you to unlock life's gate. They are personal coaches, mentors, and guidance for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, serving you one page at a time. So in this video, I go through the benefits of reading a book per week and how I went from reading one book in 22 years to reading one book per week at 24 years old. By the time I reached 22 years old, I have only had read one book in my life. During school, I made people write notes on the books that they've read and I'll take it and study the notes, and that's how I'd pass my exams. And when I started to travel, I saw people reading books on Kindles and anywhere and everywhere they went, and I started to get curious as to why. Why were people so interested in reading? What were they benefiting from it that I wasn't? The obvious evidence that I saw was that it was benefiting their vocabulary and also their writing skills. I then started getting interested in entrepreneurs and I started to read books about them. And I learned that every entrepreneur reads tons of books per week, and this allowed them to develop skills outside of their profession. For example, Elon Musk didn't graduate with an aerospace engineer or in rocket science, yet he was able to read tons of books on space, rockets and propulsion, and surrounded himself with the right people, and that's how he made SpaceX become alive. I then started to read books on my favorite entrepreneurs like Gary Vaynerchuk and his book Crush It, which took me 1 month to finish. I was only able to read 10 pages per day, and then I was mentally exhausted. I couldn't read any more than that. I learned so much from that book that I started reading his other books, and then started getting into finance books and then biography books such as Steve Jobs and Elon Musk's. I came across a book called Atomic Habits, which taught me to set clear goals, that taking small steps forward is better than taking no steps at all. So even when I didn't feel like reading, I still read some pages to make sure that my flow of reading every single day was still happening. I was moving forward, sometimes slowly, sometimes fast, but at least I was moving ahead. I decided to take the challenge into reading books properly, and I decided to set out some goals. In 2019, I read 6 books. That's one book every 2 months. In 2020, I set a goal to read 11 books that year, and I ended up reading 23. In 2021, I set a goal to read 32 books this year. I'm already on book 13, and it's only March. Now, there's a book called 10X, written by Cardone. He's a real estate entrepreneur. In his book, he talks about setting 10x. He talks about taking your goals and 10xing that. And that's all about setting a high goal and making sure that even if you miss, and it's all about hitting a high target and missing, and still doing better than what your original low goal would have been. Now, let's say your original goal was to read 20 books in a year, but then you read 10x and then you change that to 40. And then December comes and you're reevaluating your year. And then you see that you didn't hit the 40, but you read 30. And 30 was greater than your original goal of 20. See how it works? Now let's get into the benefit of reading. Number 1, reading expands your creativity. In my situation where I love reading books on entrepreneurship, real estate, investing and finance, I get access into the writer's mind and see how they dealt with certain situations and problems. I get to study how they solved problems and what it takes to be a top leader. I would ask myself, would you pay $30 to spend time with Sam Walton? Are you kidding me? He built the biggest retail business in the world, Walmart, and he is so knowledgeable. Of course I'll spend $30 to spend some time with him. I'll squeeze every bit of information out of his brain. Well, you can do that by buying his book, Made in America. Because in that book, he goes through the struggles, he explains what he did, how he got out of them, his way of thinking, just like if you sat with him and asked him questions. And this only cost around $30. So make sure you buy Made in America by Sam Walton. It's a great book. Number 2, reading grows your knowledge. Reading consistently increases your knowledge on a lot of aspects. Reading consistently increases on a wide variety of topics. If you're interested in art or how an introvert can fit in an extroverted society, you can grab books. You can grab books by artists and psychologists and see their work in the field of study. Number 3, reading boosts your analytical thinking capability. A Cunningham study reveals that reading hones our ability to see patterns. Hence, by reading frequently, you're able to enhance your pattern recognition skills astronomically. I read a book called Walk Down Wall Street, which talks about the best way to a company to invest in is by looking around you and seeing what type of trends people are doing or what they're talking about. This piece of information opened my mind when it came to investing. I started to see a new company that came into the market and a lot of people were using their product and talking about it. I started to see the trend that I learned from reading that book, and then I invested in the company and I made some great returns. Benefit number 4, books are like mentors. Let's say you're starting a business or you just landed a new role as a manager, but you don't know how to lead. You can simply buy a book from a writer that's been in your shoe before. You can buy books on leadership, how to manage, how to make your team productive, and also how to run a business. So books are like your mentors. Benefit number 5 is books helps you to build your word bank. After reading tons of books, you realize that writers have different ways of trying to project the same message. You realize that they really want to say the same thing, but there's 1,000 ways that they can say it. And you'll start to pick up on certain words and sentence structures, and that's how you would build your vocabulary and writing skills. And that's it for today, guys. If you want a book recommendation, make sure you leave a comment on the subject that you're interested in, which book fits your interest the most. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure you share these videos with your friends. Thank you.